Some Cape Town residents impacted by last week's heavy rains are still struggling to keep dry. Many informal areas were flooded, forcing people to abandon their homes. The city of Cape Town says 70% of the flooded areas were homes built on wetlands. Well, the gift of the givers is offering some relief. Nobesuthu Hejana is out there. Let's find out what they are doing for these residents. Nobesuthu, good afternoon. And once again, it is gift of the givers to the rescue.
Certainly, Yuveka. Now, many of these residents in these communities are still trying to salvage what they can as the heavy rains have been impacting their livelihoods, where you mentioned that some of the people had to abandon their homes. But the number of people that we spoke to here in Flay, a community of about 76 informal settlement, they were telling us that their beds are wet and many of their bedding and clothes, they've also been impacted by the rain. But I'm just going to bring in a community leader here, Mr. Sally Davids. Sally, about 6 months ago, this area, it had shacks were destroyed by a fire, and this is another. So how are the community or people here in Flay suffering? How bad things are here?
Yes, good afternoon, man. I'm Imam in the area also. Things just get very getting worse every time. They will promise us they're going to sort out us what electric, and flooding is happening every year. Once they have a child that flood also, and givers also always assist us with blankets, food and everything, and Al Jamaa also assist us with the tent, with the burning was going on here. But what on my side, I think is not right. What the government do to us is not right, because the children is sleeping in wetness, people's clothes is wet, and we were promised every year the same thing, man. It's not right. So we need very urgent assistance, man, please.
All right, thank you very much. I'm also going to bring in Ali Sablé from the Gift of the Givers. Now, Ali, you've been working around the clock. Yesterday, you were also in other communities that have been impacted. What do you see when you visit this community? How bad things are? And we also spoke to people who were saying that their clothes are wet.
In the past 10 years, working in these areas, this was one of the worst floods we've seen. It was over 25 locations that were, and the common message is we are wet, we are cold. Going into these homes, you'll find people still wearing the wet clothing for the last 5 to 6 days. They cannot change their clothing. The clothing in the cupboard, furniture is washed, food is gone. So when we, and you know, in the past, these areas, these people used to be housed in community halls. But because of the peak of the third wave and of level 4 lockdown, they cannot be placed in the halls. They have to stay in their structures. Some of they are really suffering. You can see, and as the community leader rightly said, it's the children and the elderly that's suffering, and they are not. The mothers were quite concerned that a baby will be washed away or so, because they are more focusing on rescuing the other children, they're forgetting one. So not too long ago, last year, we had a tragedy here where one of the children of this area got flooded away. So the situation is dire. It's our 7th day of assisting the flood victims, and we are seeing, as you can see, the rain is not stopping. We will be assisting after this stop. We've got many other areas lined up. So our humanitarian aid is carrying on in the early part of next week as well.
And what sort of emergency assistance that you guys provide at this time? Because earlier on we saw you handing over blankets and masks.
As we know, we're still in the COVID-19 pandemic. Mask and sanitizer is very important, because we wouldn't want the people of a township to get COVID-19. That will be a disaster. And we are providing hot, nutritious meals. We are providing blankets, baby care packs, so at least people can at least have some warmth and some comfort in this dire situation.
All right, thank you very much, Ali. Well, Yuveka, there you have it. And a number of these communities, especially in the informal settlement, where we talk about social distancing and trying to get people to adhere to those protocols or regulations, it's pretty much hard for them to do so. I'm just going to ask my camera colleague, Mabuti, just to pan to his right and just to show you how close these informal settlements are. And when it flooded here, many of them, the water gets high up into the doors, and they're struggling to keep dry, but many of them, they are receiving those assistance from organizations like the Gift of the and some assistance from the city of Cape Town when they do bring in those disaster management. They come and drain drains around in the area. But this is the reality of many people in informal settlements.